In the height of the 1990s, Diana Spencer, the Princess of Wales, seemed to represent everything new and challenging in the British monarchy. Known for her empathy, humanitarian work, and for breaking royal protocols, she captivated the world but also gained enemies in power circles that preferred silence and obedience. The princess enchanted crowds, yet her steps began to unsettle powerful figures both within and outside royalty. On the night of August 31st, 1997, tragedy struck in the Pont d'Alma tunnel in Paris, claiming the lives of Diana, Dodi Al-Fayed, and driver Henri Paul. The world mourned the loss of the people's princess, but the circumstances of the accident raised questions that persist to this day. Was it just an unfortunate disaster or a carefully executed plan to silence a powerful voice? You may call it paranoia. I call it vision. This is light, also known as L, and together we will break the code they have hidden from you. But remember, every shared discovery illuminates new minds. Without further ado, let's uncover the truth behind this story. Diana Spencer, upon joining the British monarchy, seemed destined to be more than just a princess. Her marriage to Prince Charles, widely broadcast and celebrated in 1981, became a historic event. Yet behind the glamour, Diana began to emerge as an independent figure who transcended the limits imposed by royalty. Diana didn't enter royalty just to be another face in the crowd. She seemed made to break molds, and that, of course, bothered a lot of people. Her connection with the people, in contrast to the traditional detachment of monarchy, began to attract a type of attention that went beyond what the palaces were prepared to handle. Little by little, she ceased to be just the heir's wife to become the people's princess. Her visits to hospitals, orphanages, and war zones showcased a raw and genuine empathy that captured the hearts of a global audience. Yet, for some, her growing popularity was a sign of danger. After all, what would happen if Diana's image overshadowed the monarchy itself? Isn't it curious that, at the same time she drew closer to the people, she seemed to drift away from the royal family? Her relationship with royalty deteriorated over the years, culminating in Diana and Charles's controversial divorce in 1996. Freed from the stricter protocols, Diana began forging a new path, engaging in global humanitarian causes. However, this placed her under the spotlight of a system that seemed unwilling to let her outshine the monarchy itself. For many, Diana's freedom was perceived as an act of rebellion against a system that values loyalty and silence. Had she crossed an invisible line? In addition, Diana's influence over the media was something unprecedented. At a time when the monarchy struggled to modernize, Diana was already dominating tabloids, magazines, and even TV interviews with a disconcerting ease. The famous 1995 Panorama interview, in which Diana declared, "There were three of us in this marriage," was a direct blow to the royal family's prestige. It not only exposed Charles's infidelities, but also introduced to the world a woman who was not willing to remain silent. Her stance exposed vulnerabilities in the monarchy that had never been seen before. Why would a millennial institution, surrounded by secrecy and tradition, allow such an influential figure to continue challenging its rules? Some believe Diana represented the beginning of the end for the old monarchical structure. For those who argue that the monarchy's stability is crucial to England, Diana went from being an ally to an existential threat. Theories suggest that high circles of power became concerned about the changes Diana represented. Her growing popularity in a world where public opinion was starting to carry more weight than royal traditions was alarming. Could the people's princess be more powerful than the queen herself? And what if the people began to question the need for a monarchy in a modern world? Signs of discomfort within the royal family became visible at public events. Diana, often seen alone, seemed increasingly distant from the other royal members. Her role as an independent and active figure became an unsettling contrast to the passivity attributed to other family members. There was a palpable tension. Could her presence pose such a large threat that it couldn't be ignored? From that point on, Diana began treading dangerous ground. She was not just a divorced princess living outside protocol. She was a voice resonating in global causes, such as the fight against landmines, where her efforts troubled not only royalty, but also corporations and governments. Was she alone? Or did her strength stem precisely from the freedom of no longer belonging to any system? Though she never directly challenged the monarchy, her actions were seen as provocative. Diana was reshaping what it meant to be a public figure. But while the public viewed her as a heroine, it's hard not to wonder, which enemies was she making behind the scenes? The questions about her death began precisely here. Diana, a figure who symbolized compassion and change, also represented a risk. The question that remains is, who exactly benefited from silencing her? After her divorce from Charles, Diana expanded her involvement in global humanitarian causes, distancing herself even further from the traditional interests of the British monarchy. One of the most striking moments of her trajectory was her campaign against landmines, which took her to Angola in 1997. Photos of Diana walking through minefields became symbols of courage and empathy. However, this initiative was not merely humanitarian. It also exposed economic and political interests of major powers and companies involved in the production and commercialization of these lethal weapons. Groups linked to the arms trade viewed her stance as a direct threat. You know you're stirring up a hornet's nest when even weapons manufacturers start watching you closely. Isn't it curious that such a public figure would face resistance from nations and powerful corporations merely for defending lives? The Ottawa Convention, which aimed to ban the use of landmines, encountered strong opposition from countries like the United States, where economic interests outweighed humanitarian concerns. Diana had become an obstacle to a lucrative industry worth billions of dollars. In addition, Diana used her influence to draw attention to other controversial issues, such as the AIDS crisis. At a time when social stigma prevailed, she challenged prejudice by shaking the hands of HIV-positive patients, showing the world that the disease was not transmitted through touch. This stance, publicly admired, was not as well regarded by conservative sectors that preferred to keep certain taboos intact. Her movements began to attract the attention not only of the media, but also of government agencies and private groups. Conspiracy theories point to the involvement of intelligence services like MI6 or even the CIA, which might have monitored her actions due to the impact she had on political and economic agendas. But to what extent could a humanitarian princess be seen as a strategic threat? Rumors began to circulate that Diana possessed confidential information about political and military agreements. Some believe that in her travels and contacts, she gained access to secrets that could harm governments and corporations. In her public statements, Diana often hinted that she knew more than she disclosed. But was this just a communication strategy, or was there something deeper in her words? Another critical point was her relationship with global leaders and activists. Diana met with influential figures, creating networks that could be seen as a threat by those seeking to maintain the status quo. A notable example was her meeting with Nelson Mandela, which solidified her image as a global figure of change. For those defending traditions and political stability, this closeness to transformative leaders could be interpreted as a direct challenge. At the same time, Diana's freedom distanced her from any type of official protection. By separating herself from the royal family, she also lost some of the security that came with the title. This made her more vulnerable to external pressures. Could there have been a group interested in silencing her before she revealed something compromising? Her relationship with the press also became a point of vulnerability. While she used the media to promote her causes, she was a constant target for tabloids and paparazzi. Many theorists question whether some of these photographers could have been working for groups with obscure interests. After all, the surveillance around Diana seemed to go beyond mere public interest. The months before her death were marked by intense activities. Diana was scheduled to attend important events that could further strengthen her image as a global activist. Among them were new visits to minefields and meetings with political leaders. Had she come too close to moving key pieces on the geopolitical chessboard? Another intriguing element is the perception that Diana was about to launch a new phase in her life. There was speculation that she planned to write a book or give revealing interviews. This would have put even more pressure on those who preferred that her actions and words remain confined to a humanitarian context. Diana's involvement in global causes turned her into a figure who transcended the monarchy. She ceased to be just a princess to become an activist with unparalleled reach. But what happens when one person breaks barriers and stands against such powerful interests? Would the world be prepared for the impact she could still have had? Diana's death abruptly halted this progress, but not without leaving disturbing questions. To what extent could her actions have challenged groups with enough influence to cover their tracks? Diana Spencer's relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, the son of Egyptian magnate Mohammed Al-Fayed, became the center of intense speculation in the months leading up to her death. Photos of the couple enjoying vacations in the Mediterranean flooded the tabloids, fueling rumors of a possible engagement. For many, this romance represented a new chapter in Diana's life. For others, it was a move that could deeply shake the foundations of the British monarchy. Dodi Al-Fayed was not only a renowned businessman, he was a Muslim and part of one of the most influential families in the Middle East. This combination created discomfort in conservative sectors of the UK, where the monarchy is seen as a symbol of traditional British identity. The prospect of Diana, the ex-wife of the future king, being in a serious relationship with a Muslim man was, for many, inconceivable. Rumors indicated that the couple was about to announce an engagement. Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, repeatedly claimed that Diana was pregnant and that the two intended to marry. Although these allegations were never officially confirmed, they fueled conspiracy theories about the true reasons behind the couple's death. Could the idea of a future Muslim wife for Diana have been enough to trigger alarm in British power circles? The issue of cultural impact cannot be overlooked. A marriage between Diana and Dodi would have broken with centuries of monarchical traditions and reopened discussions about the monarchy's influence on modern society. Moreover, the inclusion of a religious element in a family already steeped in Christian symbolism could have generated significant geopolitical and cultural tensions. Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, never hid his belief that his son's relationship with Diana was the main reason for the tragedy in the Pont de El Alma tunnel. He claimed that the British Secret Service, MI6, under royal family orders, orchestrated the accident to prevent Diana from marrying Dodi. Although these allegations have been repeatedly denied, they raise a disturbing question: how far would someone go to protect the monarchy's image? Another point fueling these theories is the level of surveillance to which Diana and Dodi were subjected. Photos of the couple on vacation show a constant chase by paparazzi, but some believe these photographers were just pieces in a bigger game. Could undercover agents have infiltrated among the paparazzi to monitor or even manipulate the couple's movements? Add to this the fact that months before her death, Diana had mentioned the fear that something might happen to her. In letters sent to close friends, she stated that she believed a car accident would be the easiest way to eliminate her. This statement seems prophetic considering the circumstances of her death. Could this fear have originated from something she knew about the environment she was in? Dodi's involvement also raised questions about his role in this narrative. Was he merely a passionate partner, or did he represent something larger, perhaps a point of contact between Diana and networks of influence beyond the monarchy's reach? His wide-ranging businesses included sectors that frequently intersected with global political and economic interests. The logistics of the accident are also a point of debate. The driver, Henri Paul, who was behind the wheel that fateful night, was accused of being under the influence of alcohol. However, contradictory reports about his health and behavior that night raised doubts about the truth of that explanation. In addition, the constant presence of vehicles chasing Diana and Dodi's car at the time of the accident suggests that the couple was being closely monitored, possibly by more than just paparazzi. Whatever the truth may be, Diana's relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed became yet another turning point in a story that combines romance, tragedy, and suspicion. Was this romance the last straw for those who saw Diana as a threat? Or was her death merely a terrible coincidence in an already tense context? The fact is that Diana's relationship with Dodi not only challenged social and cultural conventions, but also threatened to expose the complex power dynamics involving the monarchy the media, and global elites. And this leads us to another crucial question. If Diana had been allowed to follow her course, what would have been the impact of her choices on the world order? The Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, where the tragic accident that claimed the lives of Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed took place, is a location that carries a mysterious past. Although it appears to be just a common underpass in the heart of the French capital, its history reveals intriguing connections with ancient symbolism and beliefs, raising questions about the choice of this location for what many believe was a deliberate act. The area where the tunnel was built was once a pagan worship site dedicated to the goddess Diana, a figure associated with hunting, the moon, and female protection. Isn't it ironic that the princess, whose name evokes the same deity, met her end in a place with such symbolic weight? For conspiracy theorists, this connection is not a mere coincidence, but an indication that her death was orchestrated by groups that use hidden symbolism as a form of communication and power. The name Pont de l'Alma also has a peculiar meaning. In French, alma can be translated as soul or spirit. This connection to mysticism and spirituality has fueled theories that the location was strategically chosen to represent a sacrifice in a place of symbolic energy. Some believe this choice was a message from the elites, a gesture of power hidden in plain sight. But why would these groups choose such an obscure message? Another intriguing element is the Flame of Liberty statue located above the tunnel. Although originally conceived as a tribute to the friendship between the United States and France, the statue was turned into an unofficial memorial to the princess after Diana's death. For conspiracy theorists, the flame became an ironic symbol. Freedom for whom, exactly? Could this be a sign that Diana was never truly free from the forces that controlled her life? The accident itself was surrounded by suspicious circumstances. The driver, Henri Paul, lost control of the vehicle while trying to escape the paparazzi following the couple. However, subsequent reports cast doubt on the car's condition and the circumstances of the chase. Witnesses reported seeing flashes of light before the impact, something interpreted as a tactic to disorient the driver. Could this be evidence that the accident was premeditated? The delay in aid also generated controversy. Although the accident occurred in a central area of Paris, rescue teams took over an hour to transport Diana to the hospital. This slowness, deemed unusual by many experts, fueled speculations about intentional interference to ensure the princess would not survive. Had Diana received faster treatment, would she have withstood her injuries? Moreover, the absence of operational security cameras in the tunnel on the night of the accident is another critical point. In a city as highly monitored as Paris, it's hard to believe that right in that location and at that moment, the systems were not working. Was this just a coincidence or part of an effort to cover up the events of that night? The tunnel also has a history of previous accidents, including fatal collisions. Some believe that its design, with sharp curves and limited lighting, makes the site naturally dangerous. However, others see these incidents as part of a broader pattern, where the place seems to attract tragedies. Could the tunnel be a kind of negatively charged energy point? Leaked documents years after Diana's death suggest that she was being monitored by both British and foreign intelligence agencies in her final weeks. If she was under surveillance, how is it possible that none of these entities managed to prevent the accident? Or worse, could these same agents have played some role in the events of that night? Another question that continues to intrigue theorists is the silence of certain witnesses. Some people who were at the scene and could provide crucial details about what happened have disappeared from the official narrative. Witnesses vanishing. It sounds like a movie script, but it's real. And that doesn't help get rid of the nagging suspicion. Eyewitnesses reported unidentified vehicles near the tunnel before and after the accident, but this information was often dismissed by the official investigations. Who were these drivers, and why was their presence never properly investigated? For many, the Pont de l'Alma tunnel symbolizes more than just the site of a tragic accident. It represents an enigma shrouded in secrets and symbolism. Did Diana die there by chance, or was the location chosen precisely for its historical weight and hidden meaning? With each new piece of information revealed, more questions emerge, making it clear that the Pont de l'Alma tunnel remains the epicenter of a story that has yet to be fully told. On the night of August 31st, 1997, Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed left the Ritz Hotel in Paris to escape the crowd of paparazzi waiting outside. The decision to take an alternative route was made to throw off the photographers, but ironically, it was precisely this pursuit that resulted in the tragedy in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. However, the circumstances of this chase raise questions that remain unanswered to this day. The paparazzi, so quickly blamed for the tragedy, were they really just photographers eager for a big scoop, or could there have been other hidden interests among them? Witnesses report that motorcycles and cars persistently followed the vehicle, some allegedly equipped with high-power cameras and extremely strong flashes. One of most debated details is the supposed use of an intense flash shortly before the accident, which may have blinded driver Henri Paul and caused the collision. Would this be typical paparazzi equipment or something more sophisticated? Henri Paul, the driver, was quickly accused of being under the influence of alcohol at the time of the accident. Convenient, isn't it? Blaming the driver is the perfect excuse when you want to wrap up the case quickly. However, his autopsy revealed blood alcohol levels that some experts considered incompatible with his behavior observed moments before entering the car. Paul, a longtime employee of the Ritz, was described as sober and professional. This raises the possibility that the test results might have been tampered with. But why would anyone have an interest in tarnishing Henri Paul's reputation? Another suspicious element is the condition of the Mercedes-Benz S280 used in the escape. Reports indicate that the vehicle had already suffered significant damage prior to that fateful night, yet it was still deemed fit for use. The choice of this car instead of other supposedly safer vehicles available at the hotel also raises questions. Was the car a random choice or something carefully planned? Some theories point to the possibility that the vehicle was sabotaged. Automotive experts question why the Mercedes safety systems, known for their reliability, failed so catastrophically. The airbags did not inflate properly, and Diana's seatbelt was reportedly not working. Are these details the result of negligence or signs of a darker manipulation? The paparazzi, though initially detained and questioned, were quickly released without formal charges. This is surprising, given the public pressure to hold them responsible for the accident. The speed with which they were dismissed as guilty could indicate that greater forces were at work to divert attention from deeper issues. Could they have been used as scapegoats to cover up something more complex? Another intriguing point is the paparazzi's behavior right after the accident. Instead of helping or calling for help, many were seen taking pictures of the scene. This coldness was widely criticized, but some analysts suggest that it may have been staged to reinforce the narrative that the chase was caused only by greedy photographers. Could this have been a calculated manipulation? Witnesses claim to have seen unidentified vehicles near the accident site, including a mysterious motorcycle that allegedly left the tunnel right after collision. These accounts have never been officially confirmed, but they raise doubts about the true dynamics of that night's events. Who were these people, and what was their role in the tragedy? The rescue timeline was also the subject of intense scrutiny. Diana remained trapped in the car for almost an hour before being taken to the hospital. In France, it is common for emergency services to stabilize patients at the scene before transporting them, but many believe that this delay may have cost the princess her life. Was it a standard medical procedure, or was there some interference to ensure she wouldn't survive? Initial reports indicated that Diana was still conscious when removed from the wreckage. However, conflicting accounts of her condition feed the idea that the information was deliberately distorted. If Diana was alive, why was there not more effort to save her life? Henri Paul's role also remains a mystery. Besides the allegations about his sobriety, subsequent investigations revealed that he had significant amounts of money in his bank account, something incompatible with his salary at the Ritz. This led to speculation that he might have been involved in something bigger. Did he know what was coming that night? The reconstruction of the accident also faced criticism. Official investigations concluded that it was a simple combination of excessive speed, alcohol, and pursuit by paparazzi. But the absence of security camera footage in the tunnel raised suspicions. How could such a central area of Paris, known for its surveillance, be so poorly documented that night? Each detail of the tragedy seems to contain layers of contradictions and unresolved mysteries. Would paparazzi the real villains or merely pawns in a bigger game? Was the car simply unlucky or part of a carefully orchestrated plan? While these questions remain unanswered, one thing is certain. Diana's death was not just a car accident. It was the start of a network of theories that continues to fascinate and divide opinions. Months before her death, Diana Spencer left disturbing evidence that she feared being the target of a plot. Among the most shocking proofs is a letter she wrote to her butler and confidant, Paul Burrell, in 1995, in which she explicitly stated that she suspected a plan to remove her from the scene. In the note, Diana described her concern about a car accident that would be deliberately caused to look like a disaster. This disturbingly premonitory detail is one of the cornerstones of theories that her death was anything but an accident. The letter, revealed years after her death, was not taken seriously at the time. Some dismissed it as paranoia or the product of the emotional stress Diana was under. However, given the circumstances of her death, many wonder, how could she have foreseen something so specific? Was Diana aware of something she couldn't fully share? Another piece of evidence of her fears came from interviews and public statements. In a famous interview with the BBC in 1995, Diana stated that she felt she was being watched and that there were forces working against her. Her cautious expression and carefully chosen words suggested that she knew more than she was willing to reveal. Could these insinuations have been a disguised plea for help? In addition, Diana had told close friends that she did not trust those around her. She mentioned feeling isolated and suspicious, as if she were the target of a campaign to discredit her. One of the most talked about episodes was her suspicion that her phones were bugged. Though never officially confirmed, the practice of monitoring public figures is not uncommon in high-tension political environments. Who could have been listening, and for what purpose? In the period leading up to her death, Diana was in contact with several influential figures, both in the UK and internationally. These meetings included activists, political leaders, and even controversial businessmen. For some theorists, these contacts may have aroused the interest of intelligence agencies. If Diana knew something she shouldn't have known, would that make her a target for silencing? In addition to letters and statements, there are also reports of changes in Diana's behavior. Close acquaintances mentioned that she became more cautious in her final months, avoiding certain events and changing routines. This behavior could be interpreted as a reaction to the fear of something imminent. But what exactly was she afraid of? One detail that many find disturbing is that Diana seemed focused on protecting her sons, William and Harry, from any possible repercussions. On several occasions, she mentioned the desire to ensure that her children grew up far from the pressures and dangers associated with public life. Could this protective instinct have been a reflection of her own fears for her safety? Another piece of this puzzle is the rumors that Diana was working on a revealing project. Some sources suggest that she planned to write a book detailing her experience in the monarchy and exposing certain internal practices. If true, this book would have the potential to cause a devastating impact on the image of the royal family and other powerful figures. Could this have been the reason she became an unsustainable threat? The context in which Diana lived must also be considered. Her growing independence, her relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, and her direct approach to controversial issues placed her in a unique position. She was not just a charismatic ex-princess. She was a global public figure, capable of influencing millions. What happens when someone with that reach becomes unpredictable? Conspiracy claims gain even more strength when examining the accident's circumstances. The lack of security camera footage, the delay in rescue, and the confusion over the car's technical details reinforce the idea that something was being hidden. For proponents of these theories, Diana's death was the culmination of months of preparation and surveillance. An intriguing aspect is the public's reaction to the tragedy. The global commotion generated by Diana's death may have surprised those who allegedly orchestrated her demise. This raises an important question. If there was a plan to silence her, did it really work? Or did it end up creating an even more powerful figure in her absence? The letters, reports, and circumstances indicate that Diana knew she was in danger. But why were her concerns ignored? For some, this is evidence of negligence. For others, it's proof that she was deliberately left vulnerable. The death of Diana Spencer, the People's Princess, remains one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. The circumstances of her tragic passing raise questions that go beyond a simple car accident. From the symbolism of the Ponte El Alma tunnel to the mysterious involvement of paparazzi, each detail seems to hide something deeper. Diana was a unique figure whose influence transcended cultural, social, and even political barriers. But the same force that made her adored by the public may have sealed her fate. Perhaps we will never know the whole truth, but one thing is certain: Diana left a legacy that cannot be erased. Her story reminds us that often, the darkest secrets are hidden between the lines of events that seem clear at first glance. After all, as she herself seemed to foresee, her role in the world was never something simple or ordinary. The truth is out there, hidden between the lines of a system that no one dares to question. But if you're ready to see beyond what they show you, like, comment, and share this text with those who also need to awaken. Tell me, which mystery should we unravel in the next episode? Together, we will crack the codes they try to keep secret. This is only the beginning of the hidden secret.